Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Have You Know Game. I'm John Hunter. Today, I'm going to be giving you some suggestions of gift ideas related to board gaming. So maybe you have someone that is a board gamer in your life and you're looking for something to get them besides just a regular board game, or maybe you yourself are thinking of ideas of what you might like to put on your list of gifts you want to get. Well, this video is for you. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, first up, we have dice bags. There's a lot of different types of dice bags that you can get, but it's a great idea for someone who has a lot of dice and is looking for a place to store them. This one right here is a pretty simple dice bag as a single pouch. They come in all sorts of designs. Here's another example of a dice bag that actually has subdivided sections. So if you wanted to sort your dice by color or dice type, this is a great option. And you also have ones that are kind of cute. This one here looks like a mimic treasure chest. There's ones that look like creatures or stuffed animals, that type of thing, or monsters. But this is a great, cute idea for someone who's looking for a dice storage solution. Okay, next up we have dice towers. Dice towers are a really cool device if you're not familiar with. It helps you to roll your dice and make sure you get a good roll and get a good fair result on your dice roll. You just basically drop your dice in the top of the tower and it goes tumbling down. In this case, it's stairs, and will come out into this reservoir that traps the dice. There's a lot of different varieties. You could go with something like this. Here's another example of a dice tower made out of wood. Dropping the dice up in the top here, and then it catches it in the bottom. What's neat about this one is the top part of the dice tower will fold down and collapse into the reservoir, so it stores nice and easy and doesn't take up a lot of space. The next dice tower is very similar. It has snaps in the reservoir that undo. This all folds down and collapses into a flat item that stores very easily. This one would be really good for the gamer who's traveling a lot and wants to pack up their dice tower for use at someplace other than home. Okay, and next up we have dice trays. Similar to dice towers, however, it's just a reservoir for actually rolling your dice. Dice trays are very handy for any sort of dice rolling game because you can roll the dice without them rolling off of the table, and it also keeps them all in one neat little space so you can get to them easily. There's a lot of different varieties. The one you see here has snaps so that if you undo the snaps, it'll unfold and be flat. Here's another example of one similarly will also unsnap and fold flat, just a different shape. And here's another example of one that not only acts as a dice tray where you can roll your dice in the center, but it has a nice little area around the perimeter where you can store your dice. So you get a little bit of double use out of this as far as storage and a dice tray. Okay, the next up is accessory trays. Most board games are going to have all sorts of little pieces that you need to keep in one consolidated area. If you don't have dice trays, these accessories can spread out all over the table. They can not only take up space, but make picking up the accessory difficult in some cases. These are pretty convenient. You'll see the same kind of mechanic with these. These also unsnap and can be folded out flat, so you can store them nice and easy. Here's another example of accessory trays. These are kind of neat because you can stack them. And here's one more option of trays for holding your gaming accessories. This one's kind of neat because they have lids on it, so you can actually put them in the box or wherever you need to and not have to worry about those accessories falling or spilling out when you're not using them. Okay, next is card holders. Most games are using some sort of a card within their mechanic, whether it's old traditional games of bridge or poker. For the new games, board games that use cards, you've got trading card games. This is a great way to hold all those cards, particularly if it's a game that has you holding a lot of cards at once. It makes it a lot easier to play because you can see what you actually have and make the decisions on your gameplay strategy. This one here is a set of 4, holds the cards in a straight line. And just as another option, you've got card holders that are a little more curved. So maybe it helps with a little bit of privacy if you have players sitting next to you. Okay, the next thing are card sleeves. So a lot of games sometimes are pretty pricey, and gamers are always looking to protect their game. Card sleeves are one of the best ways to keep your cards protected and safe. So not only when they're stored, they're safe, but also gameplay, so the edges don't get frayed and damaged in some fashion or another. This particular brand that I'm showing here, there's other options. I'm not trying to talk about brands in this video, but this is just an option. Mayday is one of the popular brands. As you can see in the middle, it'll give you sizes because board games will use all sorts of different sizes in their cards. You can easily find the sleeve that fits exactly the cards that you're looking for. Now, I'll give you a little tip. If you head on over to BoardGameGeek.com and you look up any particular game that you're looking to get card sleeves for, right just below the top banner of the game, you'll see a bunch of options. And right in here, you'll see a button for Sleeve It. If you click on that, it will tell you the exact size of the cards that you need to get to sleeve that particular game. So that's a real handy resource to have if you're looking to sleeve up your games. Now, card sleeves come in a variety. The ones that I've already shown are clear on the front and back, but you have certain card sleeves like this particular one will come in different colors. So it's clear on the front side so you can see what the card is, but then it'll have a color on the back. So this particular box, it's a turquoise color. This is really handy for trading card games like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon. They have a real nice feel to it, and particularly if you're playing some of those trading card games, those cards individually can be very, very expensive depending on what you have. So you definitely want to be playing with card sleeves. And having the colors is nice because in those games, people will have a lot of different decks, and so that they can differentiate their different decks by using different colors. There's also card sleeves with fancy backs, so if you don't want plain colors, there's always options out there like this one here, sort of has a holographic pattern to it, so that's kind of neat too. Next up, we have Playmats. Playmats are really handy to give you sort of define your playing space during your game. This one here is just sort of a plain playing mat with a nice cool design to it. But there's also play mats that are designed specifically for certain board games. This one here, I don't know which game this is for. I'm sure someone can let everyone know in the comments. That would be really handy. But this is great because if you get a play mat, you can see it's got different sections. So it tells you where to put your cards or whatever the pieces are while you're playing the game. And lastly, this is an example of a play mat for Magic the Gathering. Same idea, you have areas delineated on the mat that will help you to keep your play area organized and place your cards where you need them to be. Now, these play mats generally are made with a neoprene neoprene material, so it's padded. And the good thing about that is if it's a game that you're using cards or other thin pieces, maybe coins or tokens of some type, because it's padded, it has a little bit of give to it, and so it's easier to pick those thin items up off the table. So real handy accessory to have. Okay, next up is a very specific accessory. It's in that it's only for the Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, Jaws of the Lion, game. This particular accessory, well, if you're not familiar with the Gloomhaven, Frosthaven type of games, there's a lot of different cards and pieces that you're using to play the game. So if you know someone, you want to get them an accessory and you know they play one of the Gloomhaven or the Frosthaven, this could be really cool, helps to keep everything organized. What I'm showing here is just a plastic option. It holds all your cards, it holds tokens, it'll track your life. So really pretty handy in playing this game. And this is just another option as opposed to the first one that was made out of plastic. This one's made out of wood. So it's got a little bit more fancy design to it. So this is another option for the Gloomhaven Frosthaven dashboard accessory. Okay, the next accessory I have, a lot of you probably haven't thought about it, but I'm sure if you game regularly, you have that one player that takes forever to complete their turn. Well, maybe you want to look at getting a clock accessory. Now, these are generally designed for chess matches where each player's turn gets recorded. But this is an option for some games where you can kind of keep track and help to limit those players from extending the playtime by doing too much thinking or devolving into what I like to call paralysis by analysis. This is just a plastic version with the digital layout, but there's other options that look a little more traditional or look a little nicer like this one. As you can tell, this looks a lot more like what you see chess players using. So just an option for you. Okay, the next up are plastic organizer boxes. A lot of games will have all sorts of pieces involved. This is a great way to store them if the game itself didn't come with a good insert to keep all those pieces organized. What I like about the one that I'm showing in this picture here is if you look at the blue tabs, there's different slots, so you can put the tabs where you need them. So if you need a little bigger section for maybe bigger game pieces, you have that option. This is just another example. As you can see, this has a lot of different slots, and then these divider pieces will be separate so that you can place them in the slots as you need. And then finally, this is just an example. There's all sorts of sizes for these different storage containers. So just check around, but it's definitely a good idea for keeping all your game pieces together. So like I mentioned a moment ago, a lot of times board games will be sold, but they don't really have a good insert in the box for placing all the different game components in a nice organized fashion. So if you're someone who likes to have organization, you might want to think about these board game box organizers. This one that I'm showing here is for a very popular game of Catan. It's been around for a long time. Most people that are big into board gaming have this, or at least have definitely played it. So this is one option. You can see it keeps all the different pieces and cards organized nice and neat. Here's another example of one for the game Wingspan, another very popular game. You can see it's got lots of little pieces in here that we want to keep organized. Plus, there's this particular game has a little birdhouse dice tower. So this item is really handy for keeping that all organized. And also keep in mind, I don't know if this one particularly applies, but a lot of times you get these board game box organizers. They're in different sections, so you can pull them out of the game box, put them onto the game table, and use them as accessory trays. So it also doubles during your gameplay of keeping all your pieces nice and organized and easy to get to for all your players. And then lastly is another example. Here's one for the game of Gloomhaven, which, if you're familiar with the game, has just a crazy amount of game components, and the box is huge. So having a box organizer is a great way to help you get this big involved game out on the table because it'll cut down on your setup time. Okay, the next is Hourglass sand timers. A lot like the chess clocks that I showed earlier. This is another great way of helping to keep your players moving quickly through their turn so you can get through your gaming sessions faster and play more games or the same game another time, etc. What I like about these, you can see on the tops that they have the time. So if you were to get something like this, you're going to get 6 different Hourglass timers, and you can use them depending on the time frame that you want to set for your player turns. Here's another example. These are a little nicer, in my opinion, because they're easier to read as far as the time that you'll get. Now, a little caveat. I've read some reviews on these. The timing may be off a little bit, but you're playing a board game. It's not anything that you need to have 100% accuracy. So if you're playing the 1-minute timer and maybe it ends at 55 seconds for a minute and 5 seconds, that's not really a big deal. You're just trying to have a visual aid so that somebody can get moving through their turn. So pretty good idea here. And then, of course, you do have fancier options. If someone into gaming aesthetics and maybe there's a certain game that something like this might match the theme, this could be another option. This particular item, I think you can do some engraving. So I thought this was pretty cool to add in as a visual depiction. Okay, the next up is a unique item. Most people in the board gaming may not even have a need for this, but if you or someone you know is big into the real heavy strategic board games involving warfare, this next accessory could be really handy for you. So here's an example of a board game. This is Advanced Squad Leader, which is a really complex war game, and it uses these small cardboard chits. They're like 5/8 of an inch to, I think, 1/2 an inch, something like that. Well, they can be really hard to pick up, and as you see in this video, they're stacked. So when you're playing the game, you'll need to move these stacks. And if you're doing it with your fingers, I guarantee you're going to be knocking them all over the place. So the next accessory are tweezers. These here are a little bit better than just standard tweezers because they have rubber tips. So they'll help you to grab those game pieces. And then if you really want to get fancy and give a cool gift, try these tweezers, because not only are they don't have the rubber tip, but they are ridged in the middle, so that will help to grip what you need. But what's really cool about this one is down at the bottom, it has a small LED light that you can activate. So you can also use it to help illuminate what you're playing with. So, okay. And then the last accessory that I have for you is probably one that not many of you have thought about, even if you're heavy into gaming, but these are clip lights. I know a lot of times when I'm playing, the lighting may not be that great in the room that I'm playing, particularly if you're playing a game that uses cards that have really small text. Those of you that might have, a little bit of white and gray in your hair, like myself, you may be finding that reading some of the small print nowadays is getting a little harder. Well, something like this, clipping a few of these onto your gaming table can be a great idea and help your players to see what they need to see to be able to play the game. This is just a standard light, just clips on the table. I think will fit most game tables or game table toppers. This is just another option. It will gives you 2 lights, so you kind of get double your bang for your buck. You can just put one of these in between 2 players, and each one can use their own light to illuminate the area. So this could be really handy for you, depending on the lighting of your gaming session. Okay, that's all I've got for you as far as gift ideas related to board gaming accessories. Hopefully one or more of these items seem like a good idea for you and will make a great gift for that board gamer in your life, or as a idea to put on your own personal list. I intentionally didn't make any specific brand recommendations. I usually like to put links to products in my that I recommend in my videos down in the description, but I intentionally just kind of tried to make this more of a generic suggestion of items for you. So you can go ahead and wherever you do your shopping, particularly if it's an online store, just do a search for these items and you're going to find a wide variety of options related to each of these accessory categories. And then you can kind of pick whichever one you think will be the best for that board gamer in your life. Lastly, I just want to add that this is the first video in a line of a few videos I have planned related to gift giving for board gamers. So if you found this video helpful and you liked it, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification button so when I put out those videos, you can get those ideas as well. Before I wrap up, I just want to say thank you all for the support. I really appreciate it. And with that, I'll say take care and have a great day of gaming.